When your child is having a difficult time, the first thing you do is you seek external validation. You seek professional help. And then you seek it and you don't get the help that you need. And your child is like, I just need you. I just need you to be able to hold space for me in my difficult moments. I don't need you to fix. I need you to be present. And I need you to hold me. Today's episode is going to be a doozy, so you're going to want to listen to this. So I've been diving deep into the whole process of quote unquote content creation, and I have been utilizing AI to give me some really good hooks. And a hook, if you're not familiar, is typically the first line. So I'm also pulling back the curtains and giving you a little tiny perspective into my content creation process and writing process, which I have a lot of resistance to, by the way. So if you have this too, you're not alone. But I often want to speak from my heart. I want to speak from the wisdom. I do not want to be scripted. And yes, I can have bullet points. I can do whatever. I have a love-hate relationship with social media, but we are working on that. But one of my favorite things is just saying something once and then repurposing it. So I decided, and again, extra bonus tip on how I create content creation. And then I'm going to get to the whole freaking point of today's episode. I decided, you know what, Heather? You have your pillars. You want to talk about parenting, like your child's mental health. You want to talk about your mental and emotional well-being, energy management, time management. You want women to become incredibly well-resourced. So co-create with AI and help it give you some hooks, okay? It gave me this hook. I created a little reel for it. So I take the hook and I'm like, okay, Heather, you have 60 seconds to say the hook and then say what you can in 60 seconds. And then I decided, great, that's going to go up on the internet. And then I am going to take my favorite hooks of topics that I can dive deep into for 30 to 45 minutes on a podcast. I'm looking at the time to make sure I ramble. This is literally my content process. So I can talk for 30 minutes. And that is going to be my solo episode. And then we take the transcript of this podcast, or we take the transcript of the reel, and then we use that and we write an email. And the email has a CTA at the bottom of it. CTA is call to action. And that CTA becomes the action I want someone to take. So if someone is listening to this, or they are reading an email, or they are watching the Instagram reel and they're thinking, I need more of Heather. I want to know how to feel connected to my child, or I want to know the next step. Then on Instagram, I would say either comment a word below in the caption, or I'd say, go check out the free resources and the link in my bio on Instagram. In an email, I may say, click here to join our coaching program, heatherchauvin.com/time. And I'm going to show you how to use the asset of time, like your one precious life, to reverse engineer how you want to live, work, play, and parent. And then if you want one-on-one help, then click on the one-on-one tab, fill out the application, and let's figure it out. So my point is, there's hooks. And I heard this hook that was literally AI generated, and it gut punched me, okay? And I'm going to tell you what it is, because we're going to talk about it. Your kid is not difficult, they're honest. Your kid is not being difficult, they're being honest. And I have been in personal development and conscious parenting world for 21 years. My oldest is 21 years old. In the gentle parenting space, and there's a reason I'm going to tell you why this hook in particular really got me. There's a reason why, they talk about in gentle parenting, like your child is not having a difficult time, or your child is not being difficult, they're having a difficult time. And if you've read all the books and listened to the podcast, you've probably heard something like that. But when I heard your child is not being difficult, they're being honest, what got me was this thing that I've been sitting with. On a daily basis, I talk to women, high-performing women raising children. They are builders. These are visionaries. These are women who are leading. They have a lot of responsibility. You are either an entrepreneur, entrepreneurial minded. You are in a leadership role if you are in corporate, but there's something inside of you that wants more. Like there's a part of you that doesn't want to settle. Women like that carry a lot of responsibility. And the reason why you carry a lot of responsibility is because leaders carry responsibility. But I'm here to help people with energy management. And I'm like, the more responsibility you have, the lighter you should feel. So to get a woman to be honest has taken time. And I can't unsee it anymore. And I'm going to go back to the statement, your child is not being difficult, they're being honest. But to get a woman to be honest with herself that she can no longer handle the load that she is carrying sometimes takes a lot of fucking humbling. Like relentless humbling. It has for me. When you have a ridiculous calendar full of shit and you're like, I can get it done. I can get it done. Oh, I can get it done. If I just wake up earlier, I can get it done. And you're like, but if I'm being honest, I just want to break. If I'm being honest, I just want to break. If I'm being honest, I don't want to work out at 5 a.m. If I'm being honest, I don't want to carry this load anymore. If I'm being honest, I don't want to parent a difficult child anymore. If I'm being honest, I'm burnt out from parenting. If I'm being honest, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. Doesn't mean you don't want a relationship with that person. It means the dynamic that you are in, you no longer want to experience. If I'm being honest, I don't want to have this financial stress. If I'm being honest, I don't want to feel like shit in my body. If I'm being honest, I am secretly resentful at my partner for X, Y, Z. If I'm being honest, I am really fucking angry that I have to be so responsible. What are you not being honest about? Is your child being difficult or are they being honest? Are they honestly showing you that they are struggling? Are they honestly showing you that they do not know how to emotionally regulate in a scenario? Are they honestly showing you that they are struggling academically? Are they honestly showing you that they feel like they don't fit in? And here's the truth. Here's your child not really intentionally trying to be difficult. They are being honest. And here you are, not being honest and trying to push and control their behavior. Let's do this. Maybe you'll feel better. You come in as the fixer and rescuer instead of honestly looking back and saying, my child is struggling. They don't need another tool or 5 other therapy appointments. They need me to sit in front of them and be honest. They need me to sit in front of them and just hold honest space. They need me to be honest with myself that, you know what? The life that we have built, the pace that we are going at, the amount of shit on our calendar is not sustainable. If I'm being honest, if I'm being fucking honest with myself, this is not working and we need to opt out of it. What would it look like if you were being honest? I'm going to have an honest conversation with you now. So I'm recording this. It's mid-May. We moved into our new home 2 weeks ago. And if I'm being honest, I know that this was the right move. I remember right before we moved, I had a lot of doubt and I had a lot of fear. I wasn't sure if I was making the right decision or choice. I was scared. And I also know that a lot of fear comes right before the breakthrough. So it was one of those edgy decisions where you were about to do something and it's pushing you to your fear edge where you were like, did I just fuck up and make a really bad decision? Or it's going to be an epic decision. I just can't tell yet. But I knew that when we landed here, I would be able to tell. So we landed. I calmed down a little bit internally. I was like, okay, this feels right. My son came home. So the oldest is 21. He flew the nest 8-9 months ago. And I've seen him a few times since he flew the nest, came home to help us move, say goodbye to his childhood home. We weren't sure if we were transitioning our senior dog. I didn't know if she was going to make it to this house. And I was just like, come home, let's reconnect as a family, blah, 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 blah. Unfortunately, Logan goes through transition, comes home, and I was like, oh, this does not feel good. This does not feel good because the child that left this house and flew the nest is not the same child that is coming home right now. That's what happens when your kids leave. They mature. And when they return home, I was like, shit, I didn't expect this. This loss of transition, of, grieving our old home, that family dynamic, the closeness, and then stepping into a new phase and a new stage and watching him struggle and battle. And I told him, you've been home for almost a month and I feel really disconnected to you. And we have a very good relationship. It's there's always power struggle and challenges and whatever. And, he'll tell me I'm his rock and blah, blah, blah. So I could see what I perceived as to be difficult. Like, what is this? What is this? What is this? And me being who I am, I'm digging, I'm probing, and he's a boy, so he's backing off. Or a man, young man. And we had some connected moments and things like that. And last night, he said something to me that just broke me. Because as a mom, your biggest fear is like, losing your child, or now that my kids one child has left the nest, I actually have a secret fear. I don't try to, grab onto it too much. But I have a secret fear that oh, wow, when they go out into the world, like when your children are in your care and they're being difficult, like they have difficult behaviors, you try to control them, you try to fix them, you try to whatever. But when they go out into the world and they're having difficulty, the only thing that creates connection is your relationship. So if you didn't work on your relationship with your child when they were in the home, when they leave the home, the relationship and connection that you've built is the only thing that's going to return them. And that's something that I've worked on a lot in my relationships with my kids, because one of my biggest fears is that they're going to grow up and they're not going to want to return home. And a lot of times people will make comments about, you're raising 3 boys and you better like their partners and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm not concerned about that, because as long as we have a healthy relationship and I have healthy boundaries and I'm not a psycho, hopefully they want to return home. But now more than ever, I've realized that they're not being difficult, they're being honest. If we're reading human behavior, I could see that he was having a difficult time. So I'm trying to observe. Is it me? Like, is it something that I'm doing? Is it the transition of the home? Is he struggling with something that he's not telling me? And to be honest, as a parent, there is a time and a place where you have to just get to this neutral place around, that's not my shit to figure out. Like, they are a soul having a human experience, and I am just here to walk beside them. So I have to hold it. I have to hold their difficulty and their emotional discomfort, and I just need to hold space for them while also holding space for myself. So I felt this, what I'm going to call is difficulty. And there's other behaviors going on in the last 30 days. Nothing to write home about. Obviously, I want to be respectful. I'm not going to nitpick and have like exposure diaries. But I'm like, there's something going on here. My mother instincts are telling me something's up, blah, 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 blah. And I'm feeling this disconnect. And I'm like, shit, this is triggering me. Okay, Heather, sit with your trigger, sit with your fear, blah, blah, blah. And then yesterday he says to me, if I'm being honest, you have probably felt a disconnect in me, because if I let you in, I have to feel the grief and sadness that I'm going to feel when I leave you in a few days. And this is such a familiar feeling. I know I'm not the only one that has felt this. A lot of my clients say this. And also, I have heard this from many, many people that, when people, doesn't have to be your children. It's like when people leave, you spend time with them and then they leave, there's this empty sadness. And if a child is being difficult, they are showing you their honest parts. They are showing you the parts of themselves that are struggling. So reading human behavior as difficult is a judgment. Reading human behavior as difficult is a judgment. Because if I come back to a neutral place, and I try to have this conversation with my team about clients as well. We don't have a lot of high conflict clients, mainly because they're here for self-awareness. But we do have to read human emotion and human behavior. Sometimes people get a little spicy. And when they get spicy, I'm like, they're not being difficult. They're being honest. They're showing you honestly that they have no idea how to control their anger. They're showing you that there's a lot going on and they're incredibly overwhelmed and they need space to be held. They're showing you that they're trying. And they're showing you what their capacity is to hold. And if you are trying to hold bigger and bigger and bigger emotions for people, you have to learn how to hold that for yourself. You have to learn how to be able to hold yourself in your honest moments, so you have the capacity to hold that for your children. But here's the truth. I have helped my children, especially my oldest, through some big, big, big stuff. When it comes to academics, when it comes to COVID and mental health, when it comes to having big life decisions that you have to make, when it comes to deep, deep, deep things that would induce shame, big decisions that I never thought I would be in with my children. as they grow, as they become young adults, as they navigate the world, as they're trying to figure out how to be financially stable for themselves, hiring, firing, getting the job, getting the win, and then losing the job, or getting the apartment and then losing it, or, moving in with somebody and then that doesn't work out. And you're like holding all of these things and you're observing your children and you're realizing all of these judgments and all of these stories that you've told yourself as a coping strategy to keep yourself safe. You have held on to these stories to protect your heart from the truth, the honest truth that love is painful. Raising children is emotionally uncomfortable. That the people that we love are going to leave us. And if I am being honest, freedom and ease and aliveness and energy is fleeting and temporary. And it is the ultimate goal. It is a moment of arrival, of being in alignment. And oftentimes I think we're always seeking like the perfect tool or strategy or template. And, when your child is having a difficult time, the first thing you do is you seek external validation. You seek professional help. And then you seek it and you don't get the help that you need. You seek it, you read the books, and your child is like, I just need you. I just need you to be able to hold space for me in my difficult moments. I don't need you to fix. I just need you to hold. I need you to be present, and I need you to hold me. I need you to be here. I need you to be where your feet are. Does not mean you need to be there 24 hours a day. But you need to be, when you are there, all there. That's it. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Maybe your physical body is there. And I'm not talking about not scrolling on your phone when you and your child are out to dinner or watching TV. I'm talking about when your child's having a meltdown or they're talking to you, being all there. All there. Just a moment. Just a moment. That's it. I think if you can actually see your children in their difficult moments from a perspective, okay, if they are having a difficult time and you can sit there in the difficulty and you just can tell yourself mentally, I think they're being honest. That's it. What if after a tantrum, instead of being so angry and resentful and unregulated, you literally walked away from your child, you gave him a kiss on the forehead, and you said, thank you for being honest. Thank you for being honest. That's it. You didn't walk away saying, how the fuck could you act like that in public? You didn't walk away and said, I can't handle your shit anymore. What if your child's honesty was trying to get your attention of like, Mom, this is not sustainable. We can't live like this. I can't live like this anymore. What if they just couldn't use those words and their behavior was saying to you, I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just being honest. And we read the behavior. We did not read the verbal communication because verbally people lie, right? Actions speak louder than words. And verbally people are not honest. Is everything okay? Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Do you know how many times I try to have honest conversations with people and they lie straight to my face? I have developed trust issues because I'm like, your behavior is telling me one thing, but your words are telling me another. Believe people's actions, not their words. Believe their actions, not their words. Your child is not being difficult. They're being honest. I do not believe that your child is intentionally trying to make your life miserable. I think your child is trying to get your attention to say, listen, acquiring me as a child was not the whole shtick of becoming a parent, okay? However, the child came to you. When you signed up for parenting, regardless if you're enjoying this journey or not, you signed up for a lifetime of being a guide to another human. That's it. You didn't have to be the doer of everything. You were the guide. That's it. Your goal as the parent is to be the guide, to navigate and to co-create with this child until the end of their lifespan and beyond, to guide them throughout this life. That is your role as the parent. Now, the challenge with that is there's a lot of skill development. Emotional regulation is one of them. Relationship, healing, navigating educational systems, learning about financial literacy. Heck, they are going to show you a lot of things that you are already unaware of. Some of it is going to be neurodivergent diversity. Some of it is going to be gender and sexuality. And they're going to take you places that you never thought. And they will chronically get you to look in the mirror to be like, are they being difficult? Are they really trying to ruin my life? Or are they just being honest? And I have to be honest with myself that I'm struggling. I have to be honest with myself that I don't know how to solve this problem. I have to be honest with myself that I am experiencing a lot of shame right now because I don't know how to solve this problem for my child. And I don't know how to get through this. I remember when my oldest was really struggling during COVID, and I kept reaching out to this friend and colleague that I know deeply, and her whole thing was like raising boys, and she talked about the male, like the boy brain. And I was like, okay. I'm like, Janice, I need you. And I'm like, I'm at my wit's ends. And I'm like, I don't get it. And I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to tell me to look in the mirror and that I can't do his work for him and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just keep reminding me. I'm like, hold me. Hold me. I needed her to hold me and to say, Heather, he's trying to figure this out just like you're trying to figure it out. And you cannot enable his behavior. You have to hold a hard boundary. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And some of those hardest boundaries that I had to hold came from the deepest form of love. Even like encouraging my child to leave home was the deepest form of love. I mean, I had people be like, why would you do that? And I'm like, because I want my child to live. I want my child to feel free. I also understand there's a risk in everything, but like, what a good fucking life to live. And I'm like, my emotional discomfort is not his to carry. I would much rather carry my own quote unquote burden of my own feelings and sadness and grief of my child growing up than stunt his growth and his well-being for my comfort. And if I'm being honest, the last 9 months or so of my child being gone have been some of the best and most painful months that I've probably experienced in my life. I have courageously taken action towards a lot of things on my wouldn't it be nice list. And at the same time have felt this deep hole inside of me. And I'm like, this is grief. This is an aspect of grief that people talk about. There's going to be different holes of grief as you grow and as you lose people. And I thought, fuck, this energy management I talk about and living full out and doing what your soul craves is like so much more important now. As you grow and evolve and you age, your brain becomes more solidified in your habits and what you've created. And I'm like, you got one fucking precious life. And the time that I do have with my children now, especially my son who's left home and returned, it's sweeter, but it's also painful. And if you want to feel alive, you also need to be able to experience the opposite. If you want to feel free, you also need to feel those parts of yourself that feel trapped and look in the mirror. And so my goal for you today, with the hook of the episode, which is your child is not being difficult, they're being honest, is for the love of life. Be honest with yourself of like, what are you tolerating that you no longer want to tolerate? How much longer can you operate like this? And what do you really fucking want? Do you know how to solve all the problems yourself, or do you honestly need to get support? Are you scared? Just be honest. So, if you can read human behavior as being honest, that when someone says they're going to do something and they don't do it, they're being honest. They're showing you honestly what their priorities are. They're showing you honestly what they're capable of. If your child is having a hard time in school, having a hard time regulating, having a hard time connecting, having a hard time communicating, they're being honest. And take that behavior, take the part that you don't understand and try to learn and educate yourself around it. That if you navigate this journey called life and you co-create with your children and your family and yourself, you're like, I'm your guide and we're going to get through this together. And I honestly don't know how to solve this problem, but I know that I will help you through it. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to control it. You just need to be honest. As always, thank you for listening. I want to know your feedback. What conversations do you want me to have on the podcast? And what did this episode give you? Head on over to Instagram at Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com. No, Instagram at Heather Chauvin, not .com. Send me a private message and let me know. Take a screenshot, tag me. Thank you. And be honest. Live honestly. Be honest with yourself. It is one of the most freeing things, and you are going to reclaim so much time and so much energy. And if you want more handholding during this process and you're ready, you've listened to the podcast and you're like, I need next steps, head on over to Heather Chauvin, CHAUV as in Victor, IN.com/time. Join the accelerator or apply for one-on-one coaching and just be honest with yourself, because if nothing's working, nothing's working. And if you don't know, you don't know. And so oftentimes we are the bottleneck and we're the ones getting in our own way. And I always like to say, my goal is to not only help you get out of your own way, but get out of the way of your children so that they can live their life fully self-expressed. You pass the baton and they do the rest. Talk soon.